Greetings, AJ.
Greetings,
What's up, buddy?
Bryce. Just living the dream.
Back at it again, Behind the Gate podcast coming at you.
Episode number.
I think this is 32.
Oh,
31.
Is it?
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to get back on track here to Supercross. Obviously, we're starting to dial it in for the season coming up. Monster Energy Cup this weekend, and that really is what we're going to focus on for this episode, because there's a lot of information coming out about riders, who's riding, who's not riding, who's on what, who's doing what, some new things coming up. So we're going to dive into all that stuff right now, right?
And I love how when I see things come out, I have no intel beforehand.
You
would think that I would know more, and I'm like, you figure it out always before I do.
It always seems to be the case. You're like, I text you, you're like, oh, they're not riding? Yeah, man, how are you not up on this? Or, I didn't think everybody's really interested to hear about this radio communication thing, but I was surprised to see all the people who were posting about it who seemed like they had no clue that it was going to even be a thing. So I don't know where you want to start, but I definitely have some questions for you from the inside scoop. Not that you even have one.
Barely. Depends what you're going to
ask. So let's just dive right into this thing. So I think one of the coolest, or maybe on the controversial side of things for some people, is the announcement that they're going to start letting you guys use radio communication from pits to riders, or for some sort of team communication to riders on track during a race, and they're going to debut that for Monster Energy Cup.
Apparently, it's only for Monster Energy Cup.
It's a little test run, so it's not a.
No, I think it has. I think it's not going to be a thing. I don't think this is even a test run. I think this is just specific to the Monster Energy Cup, because it's not.
Oh,
AMA
that makes sense.
Sanctioned, maybe, or Feld, or it is Feld. I don't know. Gosh, I should know this. I do remember reading in the article though that it's its own entity. So, like, it doesn't have to be. That's why they were allowed to do the Joker lane, obviously,
and ride tracks backwards, evidently.
Oh yeah, forgot about that too. This should be cool to watch.
So
what are your thoughts on the headsets?
Well, you and I talked about this briefly yesterday.
And what's been the overwhelming opinion? Have you read comments, or is it all over the place?
It's weird, because from my standpoint, I would be the type of person who would really benefit somebody talking to me all the time. I guess that's easy for me to say, right, until I'm in a race situation. But I can feed off of people in my head talking to me, to whether push harder here, push harder there. There's somebody here, there's somebody there. A lot of people would completely disagree with that. I know you're one of them who would say they want silence. They only critical information passed along. So where do I stand on this whole thing? I think
I think it's great to have them as an option.
As an option is awesome. I think it's bringing it up to pace with the rest of the motorsport world, right? I mean, rally drivers have them. NASCAR has. Every driving sport with a helmet or some sort of team collaboration has them. I think even MotoGP has them.
Pretty sure.
Google it, right? That's our mantra.
We could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure.
At any rate, there is a lot of precedent for the motorsport world to have that communication. Now, the argument could be made. It's nowhere near as much. Well, I don't even want to go there. There's a lot at risk for a lot of motorsport, but yeah, I think there could definitely be a benefit to it for sure, especially if you want to play the safety angle. That would probably be the biggest benefit, in my opinion, is to say, oh, if you need to roll a section or get out of somebody's way, put yourself out of a dangerous situation. You run into a situation where a flagger might miss something, or you might have missed a flag, or whatever the case may be. This is an opportunity for the radio to come in and say, hey, watch out, there's a rider down over that next transition, or
right. And that happens more often than you think it should for a pro event. There's times it happens all the time. Come up over a jump and a flagger's not quite paying attention. they all have their headsets and communicate with each other, and they have a spotter way up top or a couple of spotters who are radioing down to them to let them know. But sometimes there's a delay, and your team is just going to be watching you. So that would be the safest way. I think that's brilliant. It's, especially in outdoors, you've seen it happen a lot where riders have had to run to the top of a jump and wave their arms to let riders know that they're down there because flaggers were that bad in outdoors. So,
Right.
but the other end of that, what does it change? Like, does it affect the element of racing where somebody's coming up on your inside and you didn't know they were there? Now you have your team yelling in your ear, "Hey, he's to the left of you, swerve left." I don't know. I mean, there'd be a whole different element to it.
Well, how
I
about
think
just from your feedback, how would you respond to getting information that you would otherwise get on a pit board throughout the track? Like, oh, hey, you're, second off, 2 seconds off, your split times, last lap. What do you, how do you think you'd respond to getting on the fly information in real time?
I would like the critical information, and I think that it would just have to be a discussion every weekend what exactly it is we want to talk about on the radio, what not to talk about. I know we have the same discussion with pit boards, but it would be way more critical with the radios, because if you had somebody that was sitting in there talking to you the whole time and you didn't want to be talked to, that's going to mess you up. Um, I I think it could be really cool because there's a lot of places where the pit boards are in an area where you can't see them. So there's I would say out of the 17 races last year, there was probably 6 to 7 of those that I didn't look at the pit board once the whole day or night because you basically would have to do a complete owl neck 180 to even see the thing.
You know what I see being a problem, to play devil's advocate here, is taking, if you're receiving audio input somehow or another, you're obviously not getting the same sort of hearing response from people around you. So do you think it would distract you from actually hearing bikes near you, behind you, and could potentially throw you off of that?
That's a good point, and that would be my question too. Are you wearing earbuds? Is it just a system that broadcasts like throughout your helmet? Well, what exactly is it? I wouldn't want earbuds or something stuffed in my ear where I couldn't hear my bike the same and couldn't hear other people the same. I also wouldn't want something broadcasting through the helmet that when somebody was talking, I couldn't hear anything else but them.
Here's an idea, completely off the communication subject, but what about an electronic flagging system? This almost makes sense. Instead of like relying on a yellow caution, what if it was like transponder based, where the flagger could just click a button and like a light would flash on your handlebars, and so you knew, or even,
Well, they have it on the face of the triple jumps, where they have the little lights on there.
Right. Yeah. But I'm saying
something on your own bike.
Yeah, but I guess you're still at the mercy of if a flagger presses the button or not.
Yeah, but the problem with that is that would make sense. Well, that too, and how are you going to figure out whose bike is where on the track?
Yeah. Silly me. I think the bottom line is, if they want to play the safety angle for the communication, then there's an argument to be made. You can make riding safer by letting people know if there's somebody down. Even if you're having a malfunction, you could communicate, oh shit, I have to roll this obstacle, and maybe there's just an opportunity that
can the team can't communicate with other teams at that point. I think the pros way outweigh the cons, at least from what I can think of off the top of my head. I'm sure it'll be more of a process to get it into our normal series, just because of, I don't know if it's Feld or the AMA, whoever's tougher with that. It seems like there's usually a ton of hoops to jump through to make any type of rule change.
I'm curious to see the actual technology they're going to be using in the helmets to make this happen, because riding with earbuds isn't really practical. It's not comfortable. And there's a couple options that have like the really flush mount in the padding, or what's that? There's that one company is like a super low profile specifically made for like moto helmets and stuff, audio system. But like, I wonder how that's all going to work. Like, I'm interested to see what they come up with for this.
Yeah, I gave lessons to this girl last year, maybe the year before, and her dad had something rigged up in her helmet where he would communicate through a what the heck is a little walkie-talkie, and would be able to talk to her while she was on the track and doing her thing. And I'm pretty sure I never tried the helmet on to see what it sounded like, but I think it was just rigged up in there to where she would put her helmet on like normal, and it was just in there somewhere. It was a tiny little speaker that was thin enough to where she couldn't feel it. It wasn't pressing up against her ear. I don't know what the volume level was like, but it didn't seem any different than just throwing on a helmet. I don't know. I'm curious. I think that's cool. And are they making them available to everybody? Do you have to purchase them? Do you rent them? Do you just?
That's a good question. I think those are all questions that everybody has. Like, are they going to be just the big teams that have them that can afford them? Are they going to be handed out for everybody to try? You know, like a
It almost sounded
transponder
like
would
they were.
be.
Yeah, it almost sounded like they were going to do it like the transponders, where when you go through tech inspection, somebody hands you one and you have the option of if you want to take it or not.
I cannot imagine Fell doing this. Even if they did decide it from an AMA standpoint that they were going to allow it to happen at a Supercross
Oh,
event,
you'd have to buy it.
you'd
you
have to
definitely
buy
have
it
to buy it.
and then pay him a rental fee to use it. So I think one of the other takeaways is it's no coincidence that the Monster Cup has had its share of drama because of miscommunications. And everybody, I think you probably saw the hashtag Joker Lane with a lot of these guys commenting on the use of the electronics is famous incidences where people have skipped the Joker lane. And now this is an opportunity to nip that in the bud and have teams remind everybody, hey, hit the Joker lane, hit the Joker lane. Oh wait, this isn't the race that you go backwards on the track. You know.
That's gonna be interesting. I'm just curious to see what I know we've seen the track layout, but I'm curious to see it completed. Because you have to imagine the track is going to be tamed down quite a bit to be able to
Well, how are you going to make
race forward and backwards?
Yeah, I can't wait to see that. It doesn't make any sense. It sounds awesome.
I ride tracks backwards all the time. I ride my Supercross track backwards, but you ride it a lot slower than you ride it forward. You're doubling triples. You're having to roll some things. You can get creative and jump certain obstacles, but to be raced or ridden at race speed the opposite direction, it's gonna be interesting. You know who I think it'll probably be good for is Geyser. What the heck is his first name? Tim? This is sad.
Putting me on the spot.
Jesus.
I don't know.
Wait, you don't even know? Oh my God, people listening to this must be like, yeah, he won the world championship this year, so we should definitely know what the heck his first name is. He's coming over and racing it. I think that'll help him if the track being multi-directional, and I'm assuming it's going to have to be a little bit higher speed and easier. I think he could probably do pretty well. I know the first time he went to do this event, I don't know if it was last year or the year before, the track was a little more technical. His suspension was too soft, and he ended up crashing and getting hurt. Just because he has a really zero Supercross experience.
Tim Geyser.
Yeah, did you Google him?
No, I just remembered with Google's help.
Tim Geyser. Yeah, for some reason when I say that right now, it doesn't sound right, but yeah. What else? We got Chad Reed. And you told me he wasn't racing it, but I definitely just saw that he is racing it.
Well, I told you that a couple days ago when there was some ambiguity. Like, he's listed a race on a Suzuki, and he's obviously not doing that. So and that was when we also found out Cooper Webb wasn't going to be racing, and Anderson's not going to be riding. And at that point, but Chad Reed was on the fence.
And Roxon will be, or
so as far as I know, as we are today, Thursday the 17th.
Well, Tomac definitely will be. It's a monster event. But Roxon, I haven't heard anything about Roxon. I'm assuming he will be.
We didn't see the entry list?
No.
See, this is the thing. I text you information that is very commonly known, and you act surprised about it, and I'm like, dude, it's on like every social media post they have is like a tag to their entry list. Sorry, that's
Yeah,
my
I
share.
don't.
Could
I
you
gotta
hear that
pay.
today?
I just heard that. Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
This Chad Reed thing is interesting though. So I saw a picture. He has support from just like a dealership. So I'm curious as to what that deal is. And then in the picture was Ben from JGR and Johnny, one of the suspension techs from JGR. So I'm assuming they both left with him. And both Ben and Johnny have been at JGR as long as it's been a Supercross team. So that's pretty
Yeah.
wild.
So, do you know what the deal is with Reed and Suzuki? Why it didn't carry over to this season? I know it was kind of like a fill-in for last year, and then he ended up getting hurt. I wonder why they wouldn't have re-signed him.
I don't think JGR is doing too hot. I don't know. I
Hmm.
have heard rumors that that team very well may not be a thing moving forward. I don't know how
Interesting.
soon that'll happen. I don't know how true that is. Who knows? But I don't know why else Ben and Johnny would have left. They've been like the two main people there forever.
Roxon is not racing this.
He is not?
He's not on this entry list.
Oh. Man, Tomac's just gonna run away with it, huh?
How is he not going to win it again?
What about Muskin? Muskin's always good there.
He's not on the pre now. Who knows if this list is going to change? It's obviously already changed, but Muskin isn't on this list. I can't imagine KTM's not going to have anybody there. Why don't we know any of this?
We suck.
Well, what else you want to cover? Because there's a lot of shakeups that have happened. I definitely want to talk about the Reed thing a little bit more detail, because specifically the CBD sponsor that he has, which we covered a bunch last year, and how Dean
Did I
Wilson had
forward you the updated email? The
you
last
did, and I
email I
was I
got?
was I was hoping we could maybe even read that. I don't know how confidential that is, but I don't know if we can read that.
Do you have it?
I do.
Oh.
So why don't we just give a quick little? And I'm trying to find out if Marvin Muskin is on this Monster Energy Cup. I don't
Some
know.
of those teams may wait to sign the riders up too for an event like this. Who knows?
I can't imagine KTM wouldn't
I
have anybody
assume
there.
that he is. If Cooper Webb made an announcement saying that he was not, and we haven't heard anything from Marvin, I'm assuming that he would be.
I would have to agree. I mean, I can't imagine they're just not going to have anybody there.
Oh, by the way, while you're looking up whatever you're looking up,
Trying to find that CBD related thing. Go ahead.
Do you know what my Instagram consists of now? Every tag I get, you can almost count on it being somebody else doing some type of Superman type crash.
That makes perfect sense.
Somebody commenting, trying to be like AJ Catanzaro. Like every time there's an AJ Catanzaro tag and I click into it, it's somebody almost killing themselves. And now I get tagged.
I mean,
in
that's
all
what you're
of
going
it.
to be known for, man. That's it. You might as well not even race this season. Nothing you could do will ever be as cool or as unless
I'm gonna
how are
retire.
you going to one up? Yeah, you should. How are you going to one up that? So, am I allowed to talk about this? I have the actual AMA bulletin. I don't know if there's nothing to say that it's confidential.
I wouldn't read it word for word, but
I'm
you
not
can
going to
give
read
us
it word
the
for word.
synopsis.
So here's the synopsis. So last year, as some of you probably remember, there was some incidences with CBD sponsors. I think the highest profile one was Dean Wilson with Ignite Cannabis, and there was a big to do about what? You gonna interrupt?
Well, How did you know? Did I even begin to interrupt?
Yes, you did.
What'd I do?
You made a note. You made a noise, and you're like,
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. I would just took a deep breath and I was gonna interrupt, but then I held myself back. I didn't know I let out an audible noise. Oops.
What a loser.
I was gonna say Chad Reed at CBD MD or whatever it's called. He was also a high profile one.
Yep, we're gonna get to that. I think was that first or was the Ignite cannabis one first? I think they were simultaneous. Whatever the case was,
Yeah. Because
everybody,
no one knew.
right? There was a big to do because um, there was a big push. It seemed last year for the CBD companies to get on Supercross teams and give sponsorships. And there's a lot of products that riders use that really fit for the recovery profile for what riders need and all that stuff. It's a good fit in my opinion. And let's be real, the target market for Supercross, they're probably no strangers to CBD products, both legal and illegal, right? So it's a
Can
good
we
fit.
also be real here? I have tried every lotion, every drop, every rub, every type of CBD thing you could do. Don't notice a single thing.
Like not one benefit.
Not I don't notice a single difference. I might as well just be putting on Dove lotion or something. Like I notice nothing.
Well, there goes your possibility of getting a CBD sponsorship.
Yeah, or maybe I haven't had any that are potent enough for me. I don't know. I mean, I've tried like MCT oil with CBD in it that I thought was pretty high potency. Tried a bunch of stuff. And I don't
Yeah.
notice anything.
Okay. What about CBD drop straight to the tongue? You don't notice like a super relaxing
No, have you tried it?
quality to that? Yes.
And
Yep.
you
I
did
remember
notice something?
specifically, dude. I was in a super high strung state of mind because we were about to miss a flight, and because the flight, man, we are getting really out in the weeds here. Long story short, I was stressed the frig out, and somebody I was with had CBD drops, and I just dropped a few under my tongue. A few minutes later, there's no buzz, just chill. I felt an effect, not a psychedelic effect. Just felt pretty chill after that.
Oh, yeah, no,
Yep.
not I, not the ones I've tried.
Okay. Well, you suck. You're probably getting oregano drops.
But yeah, probably.
Can we get back to the
Oregano.
Supercross? All right. So
Go
so
ahead.
last year the CBD thing became a hot topic because there. Yeah. All right. Okay. Why don't you finish the story?
No, I don't even know the story.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe
There
you'll learn
basically
something.
there's a lot of gray area. There weren't any rules. AMA finally gave us an email that essentially said it was a no, and it was a no because na- nationally it was not legal yet. Correct? It was legal in certain
It,
states, but
it's yep,
nationally it
that
was
was
not.
part of it, and the biggest part was that it didn't matter what the AMA thought of it because the AMA basically gave the okay on it. The problem became advertising on TV because the FCC had rules against advertising for it because of the gray area being the federal legalization of whatever. So it really had to do with, believe it or not, NBC and NBC Sports
Right.
Network had the problem with it because they didn't want to get fined. Like philosophically,
And
nobody had a
right.
problem with it.
And now NBC was left having to dodge all the riders that had any of those logos on their bike. So they said Chad Reed was involved in a battle at one of the first rounds before these emails were all sent out, and we had any clarification on it, and they couldn't show him because he had a big CBD logo on his helmet.
Yep. Yep. So now, fast forward to this coming up season, the AMA basically told you guys that due to the recent changes in state laws, there are going to be CBD product sponsorships at the events, and you're allowed to run graphics and stuff like that and in pit areas, but there's still some broadcast restrictions. They don't know. It might be
Yeah, it said
allowed, it
basically
might
at
not.
your own risk. That's what it sounded like, kind of, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, without getting too specific here, I don't know how much we can divulge of this document or not, but um, by the sounds of it, AMA and FIM and Feld don't necessarily have a problem with it outside of the broadcasting restrictions, because there's still some ambiguity there on the federal level. You can't, if you're promoting products, I guess in the pit area, if you're promoting it, there can't be any samples. There can't be any. They're basically saying any marketing material or promotional material can't be dealt to anyone under 18. So it's still going to be I think a hot topic this year as they figure everything out federally. But I think the Monster Energy Cup is a little bit different. I don't know if they have more clout. They don't care. Chad Reed isn't going to not be shown on that broadcast, and he's not going to not have that CBDMD logo on there. So I guess
by the
that'll be
looks of it, by his logo location, that seems to be his biggest sponsor.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So for a guy like Chad Reed, I'm guessing that's a decent money deal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's.
I mean, according to the AMA, I'll read this bulleted verbatim quote from their bulletin to you guys: is CBD logos or signage that include or relate to cannabis are prohibited. So, that to me, that's a little bit.
That's like a pot. That's like a pot leaf as the logo. No, that's what I read that as.
CBD logos. How could you not include CBDMD as a CBD logo? Because CBD isn't pot, you freaking simpleton.
Wait, reread that thing again.
CB. Okay, and I don't want to cross too many lines here. So the eligibility requirements for CBD sponsorships. Okay. Let me decipher this for you. I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to say too much if I'm not allowed to.
Well, the line that you just read, just reread that again.
Okay. CBD logos or signage that include or relate to cannabis are prohibited.
Right. So you're saying
so cannabis
anything that has a cannabis leaf or something that involves cannabis in the CBD logo is a no-go. So like the CBD MD, that just says CBD MD. The logo doesn't relate to cannabis, so that would be fine. But if it's like a big old pot leaf in the background, maybe that would be an issue.
All right, how about this?
Or if the company was called like AJ Catanzaro CBD and marijuana.
Signage or promotional displays for CBD related products will be allowed in pit areas.
Huh? Oh. So that then makes it sound like, so it's not allowed on the bike, but it's allowed in the pit areas?
That's what I'm saying.
If not, that's a weird place for them to put that.
Riders accepting CBD product sponsorships do so at their own risk. Let's see.
Well, either Reed's taking a big risk here, or he knows for sure that this is going to be okay. Yeah,
but yeah.
Although you would have thought for sure that Dean Wilson knew last year as well with the whole Ignite thing, and clearly they did not.
Well, there was no precedent for it. I think they made this up after that, because of the broadcast issues. CBD product sponsorships at certain on-site event locations will be allowed, subject to the following requirements and restrictions. They're limited. Okay, so I think you're right. So cannabis, they're describing as like, THC marijuana, I think. So maybe that's their distinction. Include or relate to cannabis are prohibited, but anything else, CBD product, is allowed. It says limited hemp-based cannabinol CBD product sponsorships will be allowed, subject to the following requirements. So long as it does not include cannabis, then we're good. So maybe Chad Reed is in the clear. I would certainly want, if I were anybody running, because a lot of these guys have CBD endorsements, privately or on their bikes or whatever it is. I would make sure that I got some clarification on this stupid thing, because this bulletin is helpful from a broad perspective, but man, I would want to get specific.
Right. Yeah,
Because
that's a
even
little
rereading
confusing.
it is still confusing.
Mm-hmm. Well,
But
so
so Chad Reed hasn't been riding. He's acknowledged that on his latest post that he hasn't ridden since Seattle last year.
hasn't raced since Seattle.
Hasn't raced. He's been on the bike. What did he say? 4 days, 3 days.
Oh, is that what he said? He looks fit though. He looks way more slim than he did in past years.
Yeah, he was getting pretty fit
Yeah, he was
last
starting to
season.
thin out. Yeah.
Yeah. You know who looks really fit is Malcolm Stewart.
Oh, does he? I was curious to see if because last season he did, and I was wondering if after his injury
He looks cut
fatten up
up.
a little bit.
He looks
Wow,
cut up.
good,
Mm-hmm.
good for him. I think he'll. Is he doing Monster Cup?
I
He
don't
could be a
know.
threat too. Yeah. Well, what else is new in life? We booked our wedding venue. Did I tell you
Are we
this?
done with How could we be done with Supercross? We have all these shakeups and teams in what Justin Brayton winning the Australian Supercross Championship. Like, you don't want to talk about any of this?
Wait, the Australian Supercross Championship's over?
Didn't Justin Brayton just win it?
No,
Man,
I don't think so. I don't
did
think
he
it's
win?
started yet. To my knowledge, it didn't start yet. He won it last year. He's number 1. Maybe that's your confusion. You
Probably.
saw a
I'm an
picture of
idiot.
him.
I'm an
Yeah.
idiot.
Holy cow, you're getting me all confused now. I don't think, unless they just had their first race. I know those guys were all just getting them there.
You're right. You're right. He just won defending his championship. My bad. Look at me. I'm an idiot.
Oh, so they did have their first race of the season.
Right.
And he won. He's so good at those races.
People are listening
Probably
to
makes
this
good money
and they're
doing
like,
that.
why is this idiot even have a motocross podcast? What an idiot.
I don't know much about motocross
Supercross.
at all. Supercross. I don't know much about it either. I don't even know the difference. Yeah, so I bought a computer today. We booked a wedding date. I also bought a vlog camera. Like, lots of new things going on over here. Spending lots of money.
Nice, man. That really is nice. Why don't you tell everybody where you're getting married?
Oh yeah, it's a resort named after you.
Yeah, what's it called?
Bryce Resort. Pretty
And
sick.
you're not making this up.
No.
This is not a joke, people.
Bryce
am the
Resort
reason why they're getting
Virginia.
married. Yeah, no, that's sick, man. When is it?
September 19th, I think. 2020.
That's something
crazy.
you better get locked down the date.
I'm pretty sure she's got it locked down. I think Allie sent me a text yesterday. We definitely picked the location, and we had picked that date, and she just hadn't confirmed it with the resort yet. But I think she has now. So it's a mountain, like wintertime you ski it, and then they have, I think, one of the better downhill mountain bike spots on the East Coast. From what I hear, it's supposed to be really, really good.
I've been wanting to
So that'll
ride
be
there.
sick.
Yeah.
Day of my wedding. I don't think the wedding starts until 5:30 or so we could just mountain bike all day.
There's nothing. What could possibly go wrong there? Yeah. What could possibly go wrong?
Nothing.
Could we get back to dirt
Nothing
bikes
at
real
all.
quick?
Yeah.
So,
what the heck else do you want to talk about?
So, well, there's a couple interesting things that are going to be shaping up for this season, and I'm trying to pick your brain, being that you're going to be racing against these people, you idiot. So, Husqvarna. So you have teams like JGR, which is very up in the air, and we don't even know what's going on there. But then you have teams like Husky, who are going to basically have 3 headlining names, which I find interesting. So Anderson, Osborne, and Wilson just got signed, at least for this year, to Husky. So you have 3 top 10 guys riding on the same team. Interesting. You have JGR, which who knows? And then the other
Savachi,
teams
apparently.
basically have 2. Savachi is going to be on JGR?
Who knows? I'm pretty sure. I think I saw a video of him riding, and it looked like he was on a Suzuki.
Okay. And how about Honda? Is Roxon, but Sealy retired? Do they have a replacement for him?
For Supercross, I'm not sure. I know for outdoors, Chase Sexton is racing 450 outdoors, which is
Okay.
interesting. In
Where
Supercross, he'll defend his title in 250, but that would put who would that put on the?
well, regardless, there's theoretically a spot open for Honda, right?
I think so. In Supercross, there would be, unless I'm
Oh,
missing somebody.
probably.
Unless they plan to just go with Roxon and Supercross and then have Roxon and Sexton outdoors. That's possible, but it seems a little odd.
Oh, is Justin Brayton? Justin Brayton.
Duh. Oh man, yeah. People listening to this must be so
Oh my
annoyed
God, they're
because
fucked.
everyone listening knows. Yeah, Justin Brayton is now Factory Honda.
We
That's it,
literally were just talking about him.
and
Like,
Brayton is
what an
Supercross
idiot.
only, so that makes sense. So then
Oh,
Moto Concepts then
we
is
suck so bad. We don't usually suck this bad, but we suck this bad this time.
Malcolm Stewart, and I feel like Moto Concepts has somebody new also.
This episode sucks.
Google it. I'm in such deep
Oh.
thought over here trying to figure out who the other Moto Concepts guy is now, and I have no idea. Not a clue. Don't know. Don't care. Don't care. Only
Let's
person I
talk.
care about is Cianciarulo looks good. Also, Cianciarulo will be probably pretty darn fast at Monster Cup, if I had to guess.
Now, I'm curious how he will compete against Tomac. If the lineup stays the way it is, I mean, he's going to be a 450 rookie, so I'm not expecting that he's going to win. But I'm wondering how he's going to want to make his 450 debut at that race, basically battling with Tomac. And if we get into a situation like we did last year, which I don't find out of the realm of possibility, where Tomac is going to go 1, 2, 3, how is that going to shake out with Cianciarulo if he has an opportunity to do what Savacci did last year?
Yeah, well, if what we heard about Savacci, that whole incident was true, then I'm guessing that Cianciarulo would not let Tomac have it. I don't know. I think if anybody could beat Tomac at this thing, Cianciarulo might be a threat. He looks darn good in videos that I've seen him on Instagram. But will he override a 450? I know his first 2, 3, 4 years, however many years he was in the 250 class, he was known to push a little too far and would make stupid mistakes all the time. That's only going to be easier on the 450. One little mistake, and next thing you know, you're quadding instead of tripling. Doesn't take much.
Yeah. Let's see here.
What else you got for me? Merry little Christmas.
I don't know. I might just throw this whole episode away. We suck so bad. Stop. Nobody wants to hear that.
What else do I got going on? Because nobody cares about Supercross. People only care about what I got going on.
Well, so here's a question we've talked about offline. I want to bring it into the public space. Why aren't you racing Monster Energy Cup? Because you have a lot of your direct competition. It's something I teased you about before. But like Tappy is racing it, Champion's racing it. Like all these guys that you line up against that are privateers and would be your direct competition. They're racing it. Where the hell are you?
That's a good question. So all of those guys that you just named live in California. So for them, it's a 4-hour drive to Vegas, and they could, race the whole weekend for probably $500 to $1,000, where it's definitely a lot harder for me. Although that's not a good excuse for this year because SGB could have easily taken my bike out there. The
Hmm.
SGB trailer is still out there. He wanted me to race. Um, Although I still would have had to fly myself in, get a hotel. It still would have cost a decent little chunk of money. And to be honest with you, first of all, I don't want to ride that track. Monster Cup is always way too high speed for my liking.
You have
I've
said that in the past, and it is a high speed track.
I've always been a guy that excels at the slower, more technical supercrosses, with even the slightly more high speed supercrosses going against what I like. So forget about a very, very high speed kind of hybrid track. That doesn't do very like that just doesn't tend to what I like. Um, and then the biggest thing, I could go out there and get 6th or 7th place. Not that that would happen, but I could go out there and get 6th or 7th place, and no one would ever know, because with three moto format, they're only focused on the winner or the top 2 or 3 at most. They're not panning back to the guys beyond the top 5 like they do in Supercross, where they would give props to that guy for a little bit because they have time to do so in the broadcast. These are such short races that they have to focus on just the top couple. So you're not going to hear about any of these other guys and how they're doing. So from a publicity standpoint, it doesn't make sense. I
Hmm.
wouldn't be prepared because I haven't been on a Supercross track yet. I would have had outdoor time a little bit, but honestly, it just wouldn't be worth it.
And so, what do you think about the guys who've pulled out because of lack of preparation? The Andersons, the Webbs. You'd think, we're at the top of the sport here. You, clearly, you've raced plenty of races with zero seat time.
Oh, their
What
idea of lack of preparation obviously is far, far different than mine, but there's also more at stake for these guys. Like they can't show up, and a guy like Webb can't show up there and get 9th. You know, yeah, a normal person without an ego and not in this situation could do that and just say, okay, I knew I wasn't prepared. This was just a gate drop, good experience. Yes.
Mhm.
But a guy like Webb and those top guys, first of all, do not think like that. Secondly, nobody else is thinking like that. So they're going to take that as like a big confidence hit. They're going to gain confidence from beating you. It's just basically a lose lose. A guy like Webb going there not prepared and not finishing well, that gives him way less momentum going into Supercross than him coming into Supercross as being the Supercross champion. Does that make
Hmm.
sense?
Yeah, I hear you. I just wanted to kind of get your opinion on it. Makes perfect sense.
And obviously my idea of not prepared is literally riding a dirt bike one time from Vegas Supercross in May to Anaheim 1 in January. Like that's a real thing that happened. There's nobody else that attempts to qualify with that little of preparation. Then you have the guys that, like top level privateers that aren't quite as prepared, but definitely, they're riding 3-4 days a week. They're at it pretty consistently. Top level factory guy, if they're missing 4 days off the bike or 5 days off the bike, it's, I don't want to say starting from scratch, but kind of.
Hmm.
They look at 4 or 5 days off the bike how I would look at 5 or 6 months off the bike, because
Gotcha.
they ride all the time. A guy like Anderson, it also makes sense because he was overseas for so long for the Disnations that he didn't get any Supercross prep in that time. So he came home, I'm sure wanted to take a little bit of time off, which was probably coinciding with that same week of straight rhythm, which was probably one of the reasons he didn't race straight rhythm. He had just got back. He probably had 2 days on a Supercross track, and that's 2 days on a two-stroke on a Supercross track. So I'm sure he wasn't all that comfortable and wasn't ready to go out there and get eliminated first round potentially.
Hmm. Yeah, you got to give it the benefit of the doubt on those items for sure.
That's how I assume that they're looking at it.
Interesting note. Nothing too spectacular, but Mike Alessi is listed as number 800. But I'm assuming that because this
Yeah,
is
I guess it's
Energy
not
Cup,
a.
it's not going to be
Although
a.
most people would run their new numbers, but I guess you don't have to. Yeah, I never
Uh,
thought about that. He's riding a
so
two-stroke, isn't he?
it says Yamaha. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure he's riding some a bored out 252 stroke that's bored to like a 325 or something, is what I read.
No kidding.
Yeah, which that's a little wild.
I didn't know you could do that, but I guess it's not really.
Yeah, where do they draw the line as far as CCs go in a two stroke? Because I would wonder, can you race a KTM 150 in the 250F class? Because I know you can't race a 250 two stroke,
Right.
but
Yeah, that's a good
can
question.
you race a
The
150? And
Monster Energy
where do
Cup is
they?
like one of those things though. It's almost like straight rhythm where it's not exactly the same oversight as the Supercross season. It's
But
not
it's
ex-
definitely way closer. But apparently,
it,
yeah, and I thought it was pretty spot on to Supercross, but like that Alessi running 800, the headsets, a couple of these things is making me believe it's a little bit different than I thought. Where straight rhythm's just basically rung what you brung, like there's no rules,
right. Hmm.
which is fun.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't say too much about this yet, but I might be going to the UK next month to train a certain Maxis athlete that doesn't
Really?
normally race dirt bikes. Yeah.
Huh. Well, why would you hint
So
at it? What else can you give us?
uh
I mean, it's
I
is
mean
it
I
a
guess I
two?
could
It's a
say
it's a
I
two-wheeled athlete.
yeah. Le- Yeah, he's a very fast downhill mountain biker. And he's going to attempt to race A1. So there's a couple things. Firstly, I don't know if he's going to be able to. I know for foreign people it does work a little bit different. They can kind of just have like their racing, not embassy, I don't know the word I'm looking for here, like the sanctioning body of whomever it is that represents them can just
Mm-hmm.
basically write the AMA a letter saying this
Really?
guy's good to go. Where for us, it's way harder. You have to jump through the loopholes. Even if you ride for a factory team, you have to go do the Supercross Futures, which sucks.
I didn't know that. I think a lot of people would be surprised at that. So you're telling me if you're outside the U.S., you can get your governing body of racing to make your case, and you don't necessarily need to have the resume.
yeah. I mean, you typically, yes, would have to have the resume, but in a situation like this, being the caliber mountain biker he is, um, and I guess he is really, maybe he does have a lot of background on a motocross bike. Based on the pictures I've seen, he looks like he's highly experienced on a dirt bike. So it's not, yeah, I don't know how that works. Assuming that that's all good, pretty sure he's riding a 450 over there now. I'm going to do my best if this does come to fruition. Again, this is not a done deal yet. That's the only reason I can't say anything. Once it's a done deal, I can talk about it all I want. Um, I think he wants to ride a 450, which I would highly recommend he does not. Not only is it going to be way more dangerous and super, people just don't understand. I mean, a 450, and I think a lot of guys would agree at our level, no one really has business being on a 450 unless you weigh 350 or 400 pounds and a 250 literally cannot pull you around the track. You really shouldn't be on a 450, or I guess maybe you could detune it so much to the point where maybe it becomes safe. It's just too much bike. So not only that, I would be worried for him riding the 450 because it just gets away from you so quickly. But wow, my mind just went totally blank. Totally blank.
It's all the
Oh, anyway,
CBD, dude.
the 450 class is definitely a lot. His goal is to make the night show. So his goal is to make the top 40. That's hard in the 450. Where the
Yeah.
250 class, it's still hard. I mean, these are top pro level riders, but I kind of say, like, for me at least, if I could double every single rhythm and double the supercross triples and just skim the whoops fast, and I'm gonna make a night show in the 250.
Mm-hmm.
Where in the 450 classes last year proved like you could lay down a lap that I thought was pretty decent and still end up like 30th. So not much wiggle room. I mean, that those top 40 450 guys, all of them are going very fast.
Very fast.
Yeah, so this could be a cool thing. Maxis wants to give a little budget to fly over and do like vlog style video, so nothing like cinematically filmed like Jesse filmed for the Travis thing, but just like a cool vlog style
Yeah, get the
little
name out there,
documentary.
do a little. Yeah, yeah, I like it. Cool.
I think it'd be
Now,
cool. And the long term goal with that too, I think and I hope is for me to go do a pro mountain bike event at some point next year and have him train me. So
okay,
switch roles a little bit.
but you suck at mountain biking. So
True.
what are
Yeah.
you
So
gonna
I
do
would
there?
start easy, just like Red Bull Hardline or one of the easy ones.
Yeah. I was I was gonna say, what the hell are you talking about? What
That's the
would you
scary part.
consider to see now you should do what's the race in Virginia? I don't know the mountain bike circuit as well as I do Supercross
Well, they just
circuit.
had one at Snowshoe in West
Right,
Virginia,
right, snowshoe, that was it. That was it.
but that's not an
Yeah.
every year thing. That was like the first time they've been to the United States in quite a few years. Only problem with that is that's a UCI event, which is like their top level. It's like their AMA Supercross.
Yeah, yeah.
I assume that I wouldn't be able to just jump into that.
Absolutely
The
not.
the Red Bull Hardline or an event like that, a Red Bull specific event, something that's doesn't really have a sanctioning body necessarily. I could probably just get Maxis, who is probably the title sponsor anyway, to vouch for me and get me into the event.
What about like Crankworks? Do you not have the bag of tricks, or you could just straight air everything? Maybe. Why don't you just ride Rampage? It's coming up like in
You have to.
what, 2
That's
weeks?
getting a little bit more serious too. Like they have qualifiers for that now, which they
Yeah.
never used to.
Hmm.
I mean, they're all pretty serious. Like even the guys they invite to Hardline, it's not like they're inviting guys that can't do it. I
Right.
think Hardline would be a good one for me. I'm not afraid really to hit big stuff on a mountain bike. It would just be me figuring out how they go so fast and the technical stuff, but I think I would be slightly competitive. I wouldn't look crazy out of place. Where if you threw me into like any of those other things that involve doing tricks, yeah, obviously I'm going to look like I do not belong.
Right. Right.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I
those
think
freaking
it'd be
downhill
cool.
guys are next level. I always think I'm going fast downhill, and then I watch those guys, and it's like, oh, that's fast downhill.
I wonder how much testing goes into specific suspension setups and stuff, like how we're always
A
making
ton,
adjustments and
a ton, a ton. Do you watch
you'd
that?
imagine so, right?
Do you watch? Have you seen that Cannondale with the 2 rear shocks and the amount of like testing that they were doing with that bike? Did you see
2 rear
that?
shocks. No.
Yeah. So there's a Cannondale downhill bike they designed with basically 2 rear shocks that both specialize in one area or another. I forgot what they were, how they described it. One is more of like dampening. One is I forgot how they described it, man. One is, so it's the integrated one into the like the frame on the down. Okay, you're such a dick.
uh, Go ahead.
The end. No, they have one shock that goes from basically like the bottom bracket area tied into the rear triangle into the down tube, and the other one is mounted in the traditional area. One is coil and one is air, and they're supposedly like they do 2 different jobs. But yeah,
I wonder why you see so many different types of setups in mountain bikes, and you see everything essentially exactly the same in motocross.
yeah,
Some bikes are
we've
springs,
talked
some
about
are
that.
air, but
Yeah, we've talked about that before.
Yeah, in mountain bikes, they come up with completely different.
Every manufacturer has some kind of crazy development for suspension. It is kind of wild how many variations there are. And now they
That's
have
gotta
like
suck as a rider, I would imagine. I mean, you're hopping on stuff that's gotta feel completely different.
definitely different, better or worse, I don't know. But so here's the article I just pulled up. They tuned the damper to be linear, and we could toy with the spring independently without having to mess with damper. So like that's the idea of the 2 rear shocks. Makes sense. It's got to be heavy as hell, but yeah, and some bikes have the idle pulley, so like the rear pivot is way up on the seat tube, so it's not near the bottom bracket, and the chain loops over the top of the pulley, and it looks super weird. But supposedly there's a benefit to that because it doesn't just track the wheel up and down; it goes back and forward too. So it's more
Man,
dampening
it's
over.
almost like they're all playing around, just trying to figure out what the best way is. Where
That is
motocross,
what
like,
it is. And
maybe
I think
we found the best way.
did we talk about that with Dave Drakes about the innovation with bikes? And that's the thing. It's like they're all the same freaking thing. Um, they all have
Yeah,
the
everyone
linkage.
always asks, "Oh, what's your favorite bike or why?" And I'm like, honestly, nowadays in motocross, you pick any 2020 bike, and essentially they're all the same. I mean, like, I could go out and ride all of them basically the same. Yeah, I guess I have my preference because I've one more than the other, but in mountain bikes, it's not like that. You would go from one bike to the other and it'd feel like a completely different animal.
Well, I thought it was a big innovation when KTM took the rear shock and basically had that rear shock mount come off of the frame a little bit and set it aside. And they did that to take the shock out of the main part of the frame and allow it to disperse along that mount point a little bit. That was a big innovation at the time. But you're right. I mean, mountain bikes all look different and perform different and have radically different style of suspension in the back and linkages and stuff like that. Dirt bikes just not that way. It's
Mm.
interesting. Remember when Cannondale used to make dirt bikes?
No,
Oh
really?
God, yeah. And I think they had. I'm pretty
What
sure
if
they
a
had a
dirt bike
two
came
wheel
out with just a
drive.
fork on one side?
I don't think it's possible. Oh, they've said that lefty fork is supposedly stronger than a traditional fork. That makes no
How does
sense to
that
me.
make sense? Yeah, how does that make sense? One, and two, if that does make sense, then why couldn't they put it on a dirt bike?
Um, I don't know. We're gonna get a real boring conversation here. All I remember hearing was saying like, think about an airline or think about an airplane. Like the airplanes all have the same kind of wheel in I don't even know what you'd call it, shock setup as the lefty fork. And it has to do, I don't know, it has to do with physics and
Mm. I don't got
engineering
time
and
for that.
force. No, no.
Um,
But yeah, Cannondale
well,
used to make dirt bikes. Look it up. I'm surprised you didn't know
no,
that. Okay.
no, I
You got
won't.
a little attitude today. I don't know how I like it or what.
Uh, yeah, I've had a boring day, really.
Yeah. Well, that's the life of a professional supercross rider, I suppose, right? I mean, why would you try to ride a dirt bike or anything?
I was supposed to go to the track today, but we got too much rain yesterday. It probably would have
Don't
been
want
a
to get
mud
it too
fest. So
muddy, huh? Yeah, no.
I'm a fair weather rider. Yeah. So tomorrow I'm gonna go to Tomahawk all day, and then Saturday I'm at Field of Dreams in Millville, New Jersey. Have a supercross track or a supercross class there. So same track builder that did my track, 402 Tracks and Trails, built an amateur supercross track. So that'll actually be pretty cool. That'll be like a supercross specific. I think we're only allowing 10 riders for it, so it'll be kind of a private deal. It'll be fun.
Nice.
And then I'll ride that a little bit after. Even though it's amateur supercross, it's at least riding a dirt bike.
For sure.
I've been riding a lot lately.
That's good.
Not my bike, but I've been
Once a
riding
month.
other bikes. Yeah, by week, once every other week.
Good deal.
No, I've been on a streak of riding a good amount. I feel good. Um, but again,
How
it's
did
not
you
on my
feel
bike.
after straight rhythm? Like, did you feel like I mean, outside of, whatever you sustained injury wise from your little incident, like, how did you feel fitness wise? I don't even know if we talked about that last
Well,
week.
you know what? One thing I was thinking about yesterday, we didn't, and I've never talked about this with anybody really. I think one of the reasons I'm so good at straight rhythm is because I don't get arm pump. Or if I do, which I do, the race is over by the time I actually have it. So I'm never held back by arm pump. And I didn't really ever think about this, but with Supercross, that's those single-handedly the one thing that holds me back the most is after lap one. So lap one in Supercross, I'm doing just fine and dandy. I'm skimming the whoops, no problem. Like if there's 20 guys on the track, I'm always in the top 8 to 10 guys hitting the whoops on the first lap. And then lap 2 and 3 and 4 comes. Now my arm pump's getting worse and worse, and the whoops are getting worse and worse. Everything else is getting worse and worse, and I'm just managing at that point. And in straight rhythm, by the time you get it, like halfway through the whoops, and it's just a little bit.
Oh, sorry, you're putting me to sleep.
Oh, I'd put myself to sleep too. The race is over at that point. I don't know. I felt good the next day, other than my cojones.
Huh, well, that's good.
Yeah, it's not like I was sore anywhere, so that's a good sign. Because that track, I guess, takes a pretty good pounding on you.
For sure. Now, are you going to...
But yeah, the arm pump thing is just...
Obviously, completely different bike, entirely different setup, all that stuff. But what was... Or were you able to take away anything from suspension setup, from your preparation? I guess what I'm trying to ask is, what did you take away from straight rhythm that you can put into Supercross, whether it be suspension setup, bike setup, race day preparation, anything like that?
Yeah, so good question. And I think we talked about this last time. The suspension setup I went with at straight rhythm was something more stiff than anything I've ever ran in my life. So it was like taking the valving and the setup of a traditional Supercross settings, which for those of you that have never felt it, essentially it's so stiff you get on the bike, you can't move it at all. It's very, very stiff. It was like that times 5. It was a whole nother level of stiff. So, and it was amazing. It was great in the rhythm sections. It was borderline too stiff in the whoops, but those whoops were very small. So I think in a big, steep, gnarly set, that it would be great. I think that's kind of going to be the direction we go next year. We're going to try something a little different, go a little bit more gnarly stiff than we have in the past. I'm a little concerned that it's going to totally stink in the turns and in anything that resembles roughness. But I don't know. I think it's worth trying. I think that was a big takeaway from straight rhythm, because Jason at SGB kept saying, just try it. And I was so hesitant. I rode it at Travis's house, and anytime I would hit a little pebble or a square edge, or God forbid I try to turn, it was so stiff. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm riding a spaceship, not a dirt bike. But then as I began to ride it more at speed on race day, and as I felt more comfortable, it was really good. And I was overshooting stuff into the face of the next jump. I jumped that wall to the dead flat, and realistically, I was fine.
Mm-hmm.
So that might be something we try, or at least we'll end up somewhere in between that, which I think will be a good step. In the past, there's been a lot of specific types of sections that I've always struggled with, and I just kind of thought that I would always have to struggle with them. Like jumping into a tight little G out where the transition isn't very good, and let's say you overshoot it a little bit, and you have to just try to push through it. My suspension was always just a little too soft to where I would go through the stroke and get this crazy rebound that would send me like one way or the other, or kind of into a loop out. And those are always the sections where like you have to triple something, or it's the section that separates the fast guys from the really fast guys. And you need a crazy stiff setup to get the bike to do that. So we shall see.
Now, what I'm going to do this Supercross season is I'm going to be talking to Jason separately from you, and he's going to be telling me exactly what he's doing to your suspension, if anything. And I want to see how different that is to what he's telling you that he's doing.
Yeah.
So
he scares me sometimes with that. I think there's definitely a time and a place for it, for sure.
And just to fill everybody in, so sometimes, and a lot of people can appreciate this, is you jump on a bike, it feels one way, it feels another way. You go back to your suspension guy, your mechanic, and you say, I need to do this. But they're confident in the way it's set up, and they say, okay, we'll adjust this. And just hearing it will put the psychologically in your head that something has changed and you like it better. And even though they haven't touched a thing, all of a sudden you're reporting that it feels better, but really it's just in your
Right.
head. So, and that's
Mhm.
happened before. That's why I joke. I'm gonna find out from Jason exactly what he did, and then I'm gonna see how different it is between what he said he did to you.
Yeah.
Be a good
I
experiment.
think yeah, ultimately we just have to both agree on the fact that we're going to have to go a direction. I think we talked about this. A direction that we know we don't have to end up at just to get me comfortable. So if that means the first week of me really seriously training Supercross going way softer than we plan to end up at, then we got to go way softer. Because the argument is, well, just go faster and it's going to start to work. Yeah, but you can't I can't just go faster while I'm that uncomfortable. Like I have to make a natural progression to that. So I have to kind of meet in the middle, get a comfortable setting on the bike to where I can push it to the very end, and then we go stiffer, and then push it to the very end and go stiffer, or whatever the case may be. Sometimes you're chasing a softer setting or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Most
I
of the
like it.
time, I could deal with the bike just fine. But there is a time when there is something that really needs to be done. There's a time sometimes where like it's just like just ride it. Like on race day, if you're chasing that crazy setting, I would recommend don't, because by the time you get to a race where you should be at, and just stick with it. And if it doesn't feel good right off the bat, that's probably because you're just being too hesitant. Just go. But like early stages of testing and training, maybe it's a little bit different, just to work your way up to it at least.
All right. Anything else, buddy?
I gotta eat. I gotta like pedal my bicycle. I gotta feed my
It's a
dog.
little bit
I
of a
got
boring
to.
episode. Next week we'll make sure that we step it up.
Well, we'll have a lot to talk about after the race.
Yeah, imagine if you were riding it. Oh my god. I also
Mm.
next week want to talk to you about a couple other things that you might have in the works, or at least had in the works. I'm gonna pick your brain about that next week. Give a little
Now I'm
teaser,
curious.
maybe
What is it? Us? What
maybe
we have in the works?
oh no,
Or
that's still top
oh
secret. No,
oh okay.
there was at one point a little something, a little rumor about something in a certain training facility, and wanted to see if anything,
Oh
you know.
no, nothing has come about. Although I saw an article today where a good buddy of mine is down there full time now
Okay.
training. So that's interesting.
All right. Well,
Is that what
maybe
you're
we'll
talking
get in.
about?
I think so. We'll get into it next
Oh,
week. We've already
all right.
wasted these
Well,
poor people's time enough, and now they've had
yeah.
to
That's
Google
six.
more. They've had to Google more now after listening than they had to starting listening. So
That's what we're here for.
Jesus
That's what we're here
Christ.
for.
Oh man. Sorry everybody.
That's 67 minutes. I'll never get back. And poor Bear will never get back either. He was locked in the room with me, weren't you, buddy? Bear.
Hey,
Oh, you know why I'm probably has such an attitude today? Bear almost got killed yesterday, and it really
again?
shook me. Yeah,
Oh boy,
yeah.
what happened? Not an elevator.
Gosh, I can't believe I didn't have a bad dream about it last night. No, so we park at where we go hiking, and you have to walk down a little kind of part of the parking lot that nobody parks in, but it's right before the trailhead.
There wasn't a woman with
I
a hood
was
on and tried to kill him.
No, not this time.
Okay,
I would
good.
have I would have felt better about that, because then there would have been something I could at least do about it. I was at the truck putting his hammock back in because his hammock wasn't in the back seat.
Uh-huh.
Allie started walking with him down into the trail, and when she got halfway there, but still in the parking lot, she took him off the leash.
Okay.
Which, yeah, sometimes I let him off there, but usually I try to get into the trail before I do, just because even though it's pretty far from the road, I'm always now, because he got nicked by that truck, I'm always a little worried.
Mm-hmm.
But with me being behind her in the truck, that was probably a bad call right off the bat. But she lets him off, and he turns around and he bolts it right past me in the truck, keeps going in the parking lot, and then flies into the road. And there's cars
Oh
coming
my god.
everywhere. And
Holy crap.
I almost lost my voice. And this was like, this happened and was done with in 15 seconds. And afterward, my voice was almost gone. But like it shook me. Man,
Dude, that's
and there's nothing
terrifying.
you can do. I was yelling, "Bear! Bear!" And like maybe hoping that I was yelling it
Ugh.
loud enough to where the cars would hear me. And then
Well, where was
thank
he going?
God. I don't know. There must have been a squirrel. There must have been something he saw when we pulled in that was over there that caught his eye because he went after it. And thank God the cars coming both directions saw him and stopped completely. And then he didn't find whatever he was searching for and came back. But like, man, I was like messed up the whole rest of the day
Dude, yeah, that is sketchy. That is sketchy.
because there's
Like,
nothing I could do. Maybe if he had like a shock collar on and I could shock him and get him to stop, but there's nothing I can do in that time. I can't stop the cars. I can't stop him. I was in a dead sprint, but I was a football field behind him at that point.
right. Yeah,
I would rather anything else happen to him. I would rather there be
getting caught in an escalator or elevator,
no. That's no. Actually, that's probably even worse. I don't know. That's really bad too. But I'm thinking like if I was in the woods on a hike and like we encountered a bear or like a jaguar or something, I would rather that happen because at least then I could
lots of jaguars in Virginia.
Yeah, like tigers and lions. There's a lot of stuff in there.
Yeah.
I would rather him encounter any of those things because then at least I could attempt to fight it and or distract it while bear got away. I don't know. Him getting hit by a car 300 feet away, like,
dude, yeah, it's rough.
oh my God, it shook me. So that's probably why I got an attitude today.
Yeah,
PTSD.
Could be.
All right, now we're 71 minutes in. I gotta go.
Yeah. All right. I'm
at 2%. My phone's about to die. I took it off the charger.
Okay. I can easily edit this part out if you make the determination. But this episode is brought to you by Rhino Power.
Oh.
I'll edit that out.
Yeah, definitely cut this out. But I'm so mad about that.
All right. So anyway,
I haven't texted them back.
We'll sketch that out. Okay. So you said phone at 2%, and all right, everybody. Well, again, sorry for wasting your time with this episode, but we're glad you listened. We'll try to step up our game again next week. I think we're just thrown off because of all the hyper on straight rhythm, and then we're still distracted.
Now, well, there was a huge climax and a peak, and now we're kind of coming down off the high.
Yeah, I guess that happens.
Yeah, so I'm a little depressed.
Well, Monster Energy Cup, we'll make sure we'll actually watch it and take actual notes and make sure where all these riders are actually riding and all that good stuff. We'll use less.
Hey, did you see the shirts?
I did. They look great.
Yeah, they came out cool.
Yeah, I didn't buy one. I didn't want one. I actually
what size
hate
do you wear? Do you have a medium? Do you
Me?
wear a medium? Yeah.
Yeah, I would fit into a medium.
Okay, I might actually because we're sold out of all the other sizes, but I know for a fact I got like 2 or 3 or 4 extra mediums just to keep for myself. So if I have an extra one of those,
all right,
I shall give
Jen
it to
won't
you.
let me wear it. She thought the cartoon was stupid and the font was
no.
really
Allie thought so too, and she thought that it wouldn't sell. But
what do these women know?
people like?
They don't know.
They know nothing.
They know nothing.
I'm the freaking businessman with the plan. Dang it.
Yep.
All right, I gotta go. I really gotta go now.
Yeah. We're going.
Like,
all right, everybody.
Really
thanks for wasting your time with us this afternoon. We feel as cheated as you do. And with that, catch you next time.
Toodles.